Welcome back to the Love Hour, part 2. We gonna get straight into it, okay? Hopefully you watch part 1. We got some gems dropped on us on all things financial health and wellness. But you guys sent some questions over, and so we're gonna jump right in.
Let's do it.
Yay.
All right. The number one question that I receive from the peoples is, should we do a joint account?
I
I
didn't even look at the questions, and I knew that was the question.
We get that one all the time.
Forces
I know y'all.
with my spouse?
So I'm going to lead it with this, and then my husband would take over. In marriage, right, we have children, right? My husband and I have children. I consider my children more valuable than money, right? Would you say the same?
Facts.
Right?
Yes.
It's priceless. Why would I give my body to my husband and make a decision to have children with this man, and I don't trust him with my money to have a joint account? It's backwards.
You trust him with your vulva
Come on,
and not your money.
Exactly. We're one, not just in the bed, but even in our money.
You've made that decision. I feel like when you marry somebody,
You
like
made that-
whether y'all have a joint account or
There
a
you
separate
go.
accounts, y'all still one,
You're one.
person. So I didn't want to answer.
And you
y'all
can
go ahead.
build more as one unit than you can on separate islands.
Good stuff.
So, I mean, we can go to the Bible. It says when the two come together, they become one, right? So, to those who would have pushback as to whether or not the bank account should be one, there's a heart issue there.
It's a hurt.
Without even knowing who you are, there is a heart issue there. There's a reason why you have some pushback toward it. There's some lack of trust. Maybe something
Fear.
happened previously.
Mm.
Maybe you've seen something in your spouse that makes you say, I don't know about that. But whatever that fear is, whatever that thing is, needs to be addressed. It needs to be voiced. It needs to be vocalized, because
He looked at you like, and what you finna do about it?
Shut up, Los Angeles.
because you all decided that this was the person you want to spend the rest of your life with, right? You should be dreaming together. You should have these big 1080 HD goals, a vision for your life, and there should never be any aspect of your marriage that is not joined, to include the number one cause of divorce,
Is money.
which is money.
Is that over sex stuff now?
Yes, yes.
Oh snap! I thought.
So if that's one of the things, if that's one of the biggest tools of the enemy to kill your marriage, why would you leave room for him to get in by having separation?
Now, do y'all believe you shouldn't have any separate accounts?
So we mentioned in the previous video 13 bank accounts, right? We have more. One of those accounts is considered my account, right? But he's on it. And the only reason why it's considered my account, every single month we allowed ourselves our own cash, our own money that we can do whatever we want with it.
So that goes back to people saying you can't have fun.
You're right.
We plan for the fun.
We plan for it.
Y'all
So
are on every account though, but the
there
one
you
that
go.
is your money
He
assigned to
chooses
you.
to have cash because he spends his quicker than I do.
mine.
I choose to put mine in the
She
bank.
saves hers.
So when we
Okay.
talk about separate accounts, what I think that most people, when they ask that question, they're literally talking about separate accounts, not necessarily personal spending money.
Yeah,
they're like,
yeah.
you pay the mortgage, I pay the utilities. Like I know someone who literally, the husband pays the mortgage, she has to take care of everything when it comes to the kids. I'm like, to me, that's
With
crazy.
her own money?
Yeah.
You're sitting at a restaurant. Are you picking up the tab, or am I picking
You
it up?
negotiating
Like that's
with your
stupid
spouse
to
who
me.
paying.
I had the wings. I didn't have.
You know,
no,
like,
I had
no, I
wings
paid
and a little
last
salad.
time,
You
right?
over here getting the porterhouse,
Yeah.
and you want me to chip in?
So, yeah,
Either this is the person you want to be with,
you're right.
or this is the person you want to be with.
And we're not talking about extreme cases.
Right.
Again, we're not talking about people
know?
with gambling problems or or addictions or things like
Yeah.
that. We're talking to the typical everyday couple.
Well, that's a good clarifier.
It is.
We're not talking
Yes.
about extreme
We're not
cases.
talking about extreme
Because
cases.
people be like, and my husband.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
obviously, you know that is an
Right.
unusual
We're talking-
situation.
we're
You knew that when you
Exactly.
commented,
We're
didn't you?
talking about, yeah,
Healthy situation, you all should be together trying to build this incredible life
absolutely.
together, this legacy that you're trying to build together, and your money should be together.
So I have a question for you. How do you address those people? I think this is great. One of the things that Kevin and I did when I was on a debt payoff plan for years before I was like, snowball, that's going to be the answer. But one of the things that we definitely did, I had like a bill account, and then we had like allowance money is basically what I called it. And so I had money that went into my account that I could spend on whatever I want, and he had money that can go into his account, and we were both on each other's, but it was my account. So I think that's great. What about those people that are like, this isn't an extreme case, but I don't really trust my spouse because I feel like they're going to spend that money on things that they shouldn't do. How do you then have those type of conversations where it's like, maybe he's not a gambler, but I just don't trust you gonna make the right decisions.
He's just a consistently bad financial decision maker.
Yes, right.
I'd rather him actually gamble because maybe we would win sometimes, but he's just wasting money most of the time.
Right. So how do you have, like, what are tools to get you where you're, again, we talked about this before, you're negotiating different management styles so you can come and be on the same page, so that way you have a future together that's headed in the right direction, because a house divided against itself cannot stand.
Come on and read the Bible.
And division, meaning two visions. That's division. So we ain't going nowhere.
That's good.
That's two visions.
Is that what division means?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
You went into the Greek because the division
I didn't realize
is
that either.
digrocosly.
Yes.
That was good.
Because the
That's two
Amalekites
visions.
was
Wow.
divided,
Two visions.
amen.
Wow.
Because you had that one circle and you cut it, and then there came two circles on the other side, amen, of the.
Amen.
So how do you do that? How do we get on one page? How do we get?
So again, we hear that as well too, and sometimes not all of them are excuses. Maybe you just start slow. Maybe you start with having a joint account where you're putting the funds in there and you're paying the certain bills, and you also come up with your spending plan or your budget. Again, if there's a trust issue there, it's bigger than just the money.
Yeah.
So true.
Just
It's usually bigger than
reflective.
just the money. Exactly.
So
It's just
true.
reflecting in the money, but it's probably trust in all areas as
Yes.
well. Right? And so maybe some counseling. Maybe some therapy. Like, I think that would help as well.
Yeah, and there's also the possibility, because another killer to financial unity or relational unity is unmet/unspoken expectations. So maybe you have this
It's one of my
expectation
favorite things to say.
of your
That's true.
spouse that they don't even know about.
You don't even know about
Because
it.
you never verbalize it. It's just an expectation that you have. So they're not meeting an expectation that they don't know about,
Right.
and therefore it causes frustration and distrust. So what we like to tell people is to go on a dream date. Before we start talking, pulling out the calculator spreadsheets and looking at accounts, let's just go on a dream date where we go out, we get, fancy, we go somewhere downtown, and we just allow ourselves to dream. We're not talking about dollars and cents. We're talking about vision. We're going to sit down and we're going to say, 5 years from now, what do we want our life to look like? And so spouse number one is going to answer, and spouse number two is going to write spouse number one's answer. And then when spouse number one is done, we're going to switch, and spouse number two is going to answer, and spouse number one is going to write. Now, a couple of things to consider.
I just want to say, I'm gonna tell you what, this is great. I thought y'all was talking about a dream date, like the best date.
No.
y'all could think of. I was like,
You're going to go on a date.
Why are we writing
and
stuff
dream.
down at our dream date? We should be eating crab legs.
You're going to go on a date.
Hilarious.
You're going to go on a date and dream. You have
Dream
to.
about your
I get it now.
You have to,
I
because
was
you got to
like,
get
crab
this
legs.
out. So when you have this dream, and one thing you got to understand, caveat, is that there's a very high likelihood that you're going to dream from a limited perspective.
Oh, for sure.
Because you're going to think about life circumstances, you're going to think about obligations, and you're not going to allow yourself to dream big. So you have to push each other to say, if we serve a really big guy who can do any and all things, what will we ask him for? What picture do we want to paint?
Abundant.
Exceedingly and
Above
abundantly
all.
above all that we can ask or think.
Okay.
So write that big, lofty dream down, and then you can use that information to have the deeper conversations. Like, okay, so this is what we want, but this is where we're at right now.
Yeah.
How do we make a path from where we're at now to where we want to get to? And in that building of the path, you have that conversation. Some of your spending choices kind of put some fear into me. And, I want us to come together. I want us to get on one accord in this, but there's some things that we both, don't make it all about the other spouse making adjustments. There's some adjustments that we both have to make to get to that place that we both said we want to get to. Bless you.
Thank you.
And some people are holding their spouse in their past, right? If I would have looked at my husband, for those of you who watched part one, and I would have saw him, the way that he handled his finances prior to the marriage, right? And I did not give him a second chance, and we would not be sitting in this seat today.
Right.
And my credit is better. We don't want to leave that out
Kev's
the story.
credit is better than mine.
Hey,
And I'm the one that helped
I
you.
ain't been over 800
Right?
for years.
Come on, I'm the one that
800
handles
club.
everything.
800. I'll be
I'm in the
800.
800 club too
800
now.
club.
Okay,
We all
hold
are.
on.
Get it
If
twisted.
I would've
I got a couple points
And
on
to
it.
be honest, I'm responsible for your 800.
Yes, me
You
too.
1,000.
Same
She
here.
created the
Same
heaven and earth,
here.
and while she was at it, she gave me great credit. Like I didn't bring the good credit into the marriage. I was 700 when I was young. 730. You know, it's crazy. My parents didn't even teach me about credit.
None
This was
of
my
our
high
parents
school
did. My parents
economics
didn't
teacher, Mr. Tag. Rest in peace. You might be alive, but
What?
I'm just assuming it's been a long time. You know, I just hope for the best for Mr. Tag. He was
was
old
old.
then, and that was 20 years ago. But this man taught me about credit, and I'm thankful.
That's good, 'cause
'Cause
that's
my
not common in school.
No, it was the
good.
most practical. Like literally, I went off to college the next year, and all this stuff happened. I got a student credit card. Paid it off every time I used it. Like I didn't go into debt on that. The things that people, this is not to shade people because people just don't know.
They don't know.
But the things people, I learned this when we worked at the bank, that people think goes to their credit, that builds their credit, that doesn't, out of this world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the things that hurt their credit that they're not aware of,
Yes.
also out of this world. People think they're building credit with their rent
That's
and
true.
their electric bill and their phone bill. Nah, man. But nobody taught them, so they don't know. So anyway, I hate to get off track, but
No, because that's a perfect point because like we talked about in part one, there are systems in place. It's not accidental that it's not that what you have is rare.
Very.
Most school systems nowhere to
do
be
that.
found. So we go from
No, it was
kindergarten-
just him. It wasn't like taught. He just was like,
Oh,
He was
nobody.
just teaching to
the
It was just
class.
him like,
Oh,
nobody's
wow.
teaching y'all this stuff that people need to teach you.
Wow.
I'm going to take some time out of this economics class and teach you some practical life advice. Pay attention.
That's dope.
So it wasn't like in the curriculum.
Yeah.
So
and that's not accidental.
Yeah.
You go from kindergarten through college without learning anything about personal finance.
Yeah.
Because big banks and our government profit off your ignorance from your finances.
Man, that's
Wow.
real rap raw.
So then, okay, so we're having this. I love this idea. I hope you guys do it. I think we should do this because I love the idea of just sitting down and like taking the restraints off
Yeah.
and dreaming. You have this conversation, and then how do you you and your spouse go back and you have these dialogue? One of the things that I'll answer my own question. How about that? And then we'll ask the next one. One of the things that I think that you're kind of saying here that's so important is getting the buy-in and getting your spouse on board. A lot of times what I think happens is I have a vision of getting us out of debt. I've never informed you of the vision. And not only did I not inform you, that's not your vision.
Right.
And so you
Yeah.
end up working against each other.
Yeah.
So having this dream date and getting us both on the same one accord and then saying, these are the practical small steps that I want to dedicate to. And maybe it's just $20. Or maybe I was listening to this podcast and I heard about this snowball thing. I took the liberty of writing our bills out and I think this is what I want to do. What do you think? Having those dialogues and those conversations so you can get on one accord. So, you have a plan in place.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing is we aren't willing to do the work or our spouse isn't on board with us. So we feel like we're not on the same team.
And when your spouse is not on board as well, you be the change that you want to see in your spouse. And so we tell people, you don't become stagnant because you don't see movement in your spouse. Do what you can do. And so we interviewed a woman on our show, and she just started taking her lunch to work. She started to make wise financial decisions, and her husband caught on. He saw that. And he's like, whoa, wait a minute. You've made all this traction. Let me get on board. So we tell people, you both may not be in the same place at the same time, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But there is something that you can do.
Love it.
And to do that.
And I think it's also important the same way both of you all need to dream together. The same way both of your input is in the vision, the new vision that you created together, both of your input needs to be in the strategy. So it can't be, you can't use this as a setup, as a gotcha. You know what I mean? I'm gonna take you on the dream day. Okay, now what I really want to tell you was the
We
reason
ain't
we
even
did
ordered
that.
no food. I hate the way you buy stuff. Can we get an appetizer?
Stop buying
No.
stuff. That's what I really want you to know.
Right.
No, okay, now honey, now we got this vision that we create together. Now let's co-create a strategy. Now if you're the stronger financial one, you can come up with this is what I think.
Right.
You know, this would be a good strategy, but you got to leave grace and space for a spouse number two to come in. Like you told the example of how vacations are important to you and how, certain weeks out the year you get to do your thing, right? If you didn't get to do your thing, you would have never bought in to the bigger part
Grace
of
and
the pie.
space.
So it's important that both parties are involved in the building of the vision and both parties are involved in building the strategy, because you don't have to do it at the pace that Ty and I did, at the pace that Kev and Melissa did it. You all have to create a plan for your household. So when Ty talked earlier about like no business that stays in business does so without a budget. So we tell families, households to incorporate or LLC behind your name. So for us, McNeely Incorporated, right? Treat your finances that way, like you're running a household company, like a corporation, so that you're both strategizing together, you're both casting vision together, and you're both, you know, headed to your destiny together.
Love that.
Y'all about to have some little children who are going to be doggone hedge fund managing.
They are.
Business type.
I love that.
They're going to be on the playground like, I got 27% more fruit snacks year over year.
So
they're going to be ready.
Snacks.
They're going to be ready.
Okay, so next question. We're approaching the holiday seasons, and during this season, it's very easy to get caught up in that keeping up with the Joneses kind of mentality and find yourself in a heap of debt that'll take you a year to get out of. And then the holiday seasons are here again, and you're kind of doing the same cycle again. So what are some strategies people can use this holiday season, hopefully it's not too late, to allow them to make a plan, budget, whatever, so they don't wind up in a cycle of debt that they end up paying for all of 2020?
Right. So when Christmas is like a month away, you can take certain dollar amounts out of your paycheck to apply towards your Christmas spending. We like to actually plan all year round. So we actually finished with our Christmas shopping in January. Okay, for this past
year?
January we were already done.
Because everything's on sale.
Wait,
We were already done.
Hold on.
Yep. So
Y'all
we
buy
want you, everything,
2019 Christmas
everything.
gifts in 2019 January.
Our kids are straight.
What if the new toys came out?
Oh no, they're straight. Trust me.
Y'all really be
and
planning.
we could probably do it because our oldest is 9, right?
They're
So
little.
granted, we don't have a teenager yet. So of course, sometimes we are buying electronics a little bit closer to Christmas, but for the most part, we're done. Come January. So maybe
y'all take advantage of the Black Friday. I mean, not the Black Friday. The
after Christmas.
the after
sales.
Christmas
Like
sale,
our
which is
kids
bigger
are
than Black
straight.
Friday.
Oh,
and
they
all that.
straight. And we usually put it on Instagram. So if you all are following us, you can watch it on Instagram.
At
stories.
His and
We
Her
usually
Money.
share our Christmas morning. So it may be too late, right, to go lavishly. But you can do something.
And you can prepare for
You can
2020's
prepare.
Christmas.
There you go. So we want you to start preparing now.
One
right?
thing we used to do to help our kids, we ran the Toys for Tots program
Yes.
at the church, and then when the toys was left over, we gave them to our kids.
Your church
Okay,
will
I was with you until I thought like
The church
we
will
showed
let you
them the
have it,
value
though.
of giving
They will.
and looking out for those that are in need and less fortunate.
They don't want to throw it out.
But no, we steal the charitable gift.
Once it's all good, you end up with the what's it left over. So it's
Exactly.
like, why am I getting
Yep.
a Barbie thing? Man, just play with the car. You want the car? It's pink.
It's
Paint
pink
it
there.
black
It's
if
a
you want
car.
it.
Hilarious. But for kids, usually January and July are the biggest months where the stores like your Walmarts and your Targets
Yeah.
are dumping those toys. So you
Yes.
can get them for 70, 80% off.
That
right?
is literally genius because the thing
Oh my
I didn't
gosh.
never thought
It
about
has
that.
changed the
Our
game.
kids would ask for almost literally
Yeah.
the same type of gift when they were
Exactly.
your kids' age.
Yeah.
Right.
Just want men to fight
Right.
with.
Yep.
They don't really
Exactly.
care. Spider-Man,
Exactly.
Batman, they don't know the price
My
of that
Little
man.
Pony.
I didn't have that
Yeah.
man last Christmas. I have it this Christmas.
right.
All you got to do is buy it in January and stick
hide
it in
it.
a
That's
attic
it.
or a
It's in our
store
basement.
thing.
Yep.
And then they gonna be like, "What? Wow, y'all know me another year in a row."
But
That is genius
But one
idea.
of those accounts out of your 13 accounts, we don't have one for Christmas, but we do tell people to set up an account, right? So you can dump a certain dollar amount every single month. It can be $20.
So
right?
much of this is
Planning.
Planning
It's
and
so much.
organization.
It's basic planning
And
Organization.
intentionality.
And intentionality.
There you
It's
go.
saying because for me and Melissa, buying Christmas gifts is not huge for us.
Yeah.
Not for our kids, not for each other. But if it is, but we
There you
all
go.
have our thing. Vacation is huge to us. Just saying, look,
There you
I
go.
want to go to, like for me, I wanted to go to Japan
Oh, I love that.
in style. So I started last year's tour, saving up
That's
all my
awesome.
hotel miles
Nice.
for that thing. Like that's in my lifestyle, that's something I can do. But it's the same idea. If you want to go to Japan, you look up the prices, when's the best time to go? Because here's the thing people don't realize.
That's true.
Going to places you want to go in off-peak seasons
Yep.
is crazy cheap. We went to Rome off-peak. The tickets are like $600.
Nice.
Like that's not
Nice.
cheap, but you
It's
can buy a
cheaper
ticket to
than
New
going to
York
Rome.
for $600.
Yeah.
The difference between going in the summertime and going in October, we had a great time, but you know what I mean? Things like that, like obviously Japan in Christmas is more expensive, but I wanted to go during that time.
That's
So putting a name and a plan to it is such small advice, but
So
it's so easily looked
Yeah.
over.
And I would
And
say
see, Christmas is a big deal in our home.
Yeah.
Only because birthdays and Christmas and good grades and things like that, we reward our children. But for the most part, throughout the year, they're not like just given things, right? They can't just go in the store and be like, Mom, I want this, and pull it off the shelf type thing.
Got it.
So we go all out for Christmas.
Right.
I mean, it's lavish for them. And so to do that, we have to plan
I like
ahead.
that y'all like. One of the things I like about what y'all are doing is y'all isn't like y'all don't do anything fun. You don't enjoy. Like a lot of times people have this mindset that in order to get my finances together, it means I cannot do nothing.
Nope.
Right.
Every extra red cent has to go to. Y'all haven't said that one time, and y'all are not even living.
We don't live that life.
Yeah, it's one or two things: plan throughout the year, or for a certain season, you can't do that. So for Melissa, Melissa and I, we had the debt consolidation season, which was 3 or 4 years where we had to really tighten up. But then, like the next 3 years, we don't have to do that.
Awesome.
You know what I mean? So even looking at something like it's gonna be tough for a minute, like college, like I'm gonna be broke for a minute.
Yeah.
But at the end, hopefully I can get a better job as a result, you know, whatever like that. You just have to take that same approach to your mind. I mean, same mindset to your finances.
And I would say to that question, maybe think outside the box. You know, you can do the traditional things like Ty said, but maybe you think outside the box, and that can be through a couple of conversations. First conversation is, you know, you share with your kids what's going on. We're trying to build a legacy for you all so that you all can have a head start. You know, this is all age dependent on kids. But we want to give you guys a head start that we didn't get. So that means that we're going to have to tighten some things up around. Maybe you have this conversation now, you know, to give them some headway before the Christmas season gets here. And so, you know, we can't do as much. We're still going to do something for you all, but just so you know why we're doing what we're about to do. That's number one. Number two, you can have a conversation around legacy. So instead of buying them a Hot Wheel, maybe you buy them one share of Mattel, and you get them a little stock certificate that's framed that they can hang on their wall, and they can go to school saying that they own Mattel.
Right.
We randomly met a couple, because this is not that far-fetched of an idea, at this little fake Benihana place. We didn't have Benihana money at this time. We just went to like a little fake Benihana. And this dude said his kid liked planes, so he bought him a little toy plane, like from a dollar store, and then he bought him, like, he had much more money than us, but he bought him like $1,500 in Boeing stock. And then he was like, and that is going to be much more. And here's the thing about your kids. Guarantee you give them the Boeing stock equivalent of a Christmas gift when they're graduating high school, they'll appreciate it maybe much more than, because the thing me and Melissa realized, we buy our kids Christmas gifts. This is the reason we don't go hard on Christmas. They would break nearly all the toys before the new year. So it's like, y'all don't even appreciate this stuff. Why am I spending $300 or $400? Or they don't even put it together, don't put the batteries in. So they can't appreciate stuff. Y'all don't deserve it.
Yeah.
So I think that this is so important, the idea of legacy building and having those conversations. We were just on Deval and Kadim's podcast, and folks were trying to come from my head for the word submission, but I'm about to come back to it really quickly. I know, because I like words and I like to divide them up. And so to me, submission being under, and folks is like, you making up definitions. No. What is a submarine? It means underwater. Okay. Submission means under a mission. And so I even think it's important when you're talking about bringing your kids into submission. Into me. And to me, it's just about creating a household vision, a household mission. And so when I say we negotiate as the adults, and I say, husband, you take charge. You can lead, but I want my input. We can strategize together, come to this plan together. And then we present that. We agree, work out all the kinks, the whatever. And then we bring our kids and say, this is what we're doing. We're legacy building. And that may mean some sacrifices for the next 3 years, because I pulled up an app that said, this is our amortization schedule, and we got to do hustle season for 3 years. That's what it's going to be. And then we're all, when birthdays come and maybe they're not as lavish, your kids, they understand.
Kids love structure.
Yes.
A lot of people think that they don't, but they love order.
I think that
and
is so
structure.
important.
It's very important.
And then you've created where everybody is on one accord, because what happens as parents is you want to give your kids the world, and when you can't, you feel bad.
There you go.
And so
and
then
that's why a lot of them go into debt.
Yes. And off of that emotion, you feel like I'll sacrifice for my kids and swipe my credit card, and you don't. That's not really the real true sacrifice is not swiping the credit card and putting the money aside for them later. That's so important. I think that was really good.
And think about what that's doing to them as a person to see. Like in that instant, it's gonna be like, wait, what? But for them to walk with you all through the process of turning the finances around, so they saw what life was like at the beginning, and then they get to see what life was like afterwards, that's something that's going to stay with them. And again, you all can have conversations around paying off debt, around credit building, around wealth building and they're going to be so much further than anybody in their class, anybody in their grade band, because of you all involving them in the legacy build, not just building the legacy for them, building the legacy with them.
Love it. I think that's so important. So I think we pretty much answered that question. Was there anything else that you guys wanted to add?
No, I think we hit it.
Okay. So last question. Oh man. Okay. What is your advice on student loan debt? Should I get out? Should I not? Does it really matter? Interest rates be low. Payments sometimes be low. Maybe these are only my facts. What is your advice?
So you're saying for a person that's currently in student loans, or somebody considering getting student loans?
No, someone who already has student loan debt.
Should they just keep it off?
Should they try to pay it off?
Absolutely pay it off. So there's a couple things that we need to address. We need to get rid of certain narratives because we've made them commonplace, right? I'll have a student payment the rest of my life. Everybody has a car note. Right,
that's my narrative. I'll have a student.
You're 2 for 2 at me.
I'll have a student loan payment for the rest of my life.
Renting is a waste of money, right? Yep. These are socially constructed narratives to keep us bound. Again, we've already shared, if you saw the previous episode with us, that the number one asset that the U.S. government has is student loan debt. So they are literally banking on you not paying off your student loans. Yeah. They love you to take your time. Put it in deferment, take your time, stretch it out, because the interest is still occurring. We still getting ours, and you're still bound. You're still held up. Yep. You're still not able to do everything you want to do with your money because you got to keep paying Navient, Sally Mae, and everybody else their money, and that comes to us, and that keeps us with our fat pockets, and it keeps taking money away from you. So it is hard. You know, we know that the average person is leaving college with $37,000 of student loan. Again, not by accident. It's literally like when you were in high school and getting ready to go to college, there's one button for scholarships and there's another button for student loans on the screen. It's made easy because it's profitable for them, not for you. So stop telling yourself, stop making it okay to be in debt. Let's just say it like that. Stop making it okay to be in debt. When we saw, I don't know how many of you all remember the first time you saw Roots. Do you remember that? The very first time. You remember that scene where Kunta ran away the first time, right? And they found him, they catched him, and they strung him up on the thing, right? And the guy, he seemed like he was like 2 miles away. It seemed like the longest whip ever that he was hitting him with. He said, "Boy, what's your name? What's your name?" And he kept hitting him. He kept, and you can like, even though it was made like in the 70s, like that, the crispiness of that whip, you felt it, right?
Me too.
Even as I'm saying that, you all are playing it back in your mind, right? And so you see that. How did that make you feel? First time you saw it?
Angry,
frustrated,
pissed
off, mad, right?
Yeah.
And he got to the point to where he was broken. He said, "My name is Toby," right? He was broken, and we were mad.
So mad.
We were mad, but we don't have that same angst when we swiping that MasterCard, right? It's the same construct, right?
Double entendre.
MasterCard, right? Debt is the new slavery.
It is.
Wow.
The Bible says what? That the borrower is a slave to the lender. So if we
I didn't know what scripture he was saying. He said the Bible says what?
A lot of stuff.
Sorry.
There's plenty of scripture.
The borrower,
Jesus wept.
The borrower is a slave to the lender. So if you're not okay, if seeing that version of slavery made you upset, how come your version of slavery doesn't make you as upset?
You know what's crazy? I was one of those student loan people thinking like, man, I'm never gonna pay them a little bit at a time, right? I was looking at one of our student loans, and it's well within reach of paying off. Like, it doesn't need to be paid off monthly. And what I didn't factor, because in my mind I'm like, oh, it's just like, I think this one's like $100 or whatever. If it's just that, I could do so much more with the other money. But what I'm not factoring in, if I don't, the longer I wait, the more I end up paying for that. If I just paid it off, the payoff amount isn't even going to be what's on my statement. And now again, just like the credit card debt, I'm done with it. And I did, same thing with your house. Like, if your mortgage is amortized over 30 years and you pay off in 7, you're not going to pay nearly.
You pay for the house twice. Literally.
Yeah.
You pay for the house twice when you factor in the interest.
Yes. And they're banking on it. Take 30, refinance.
It's set up that way.
To 40.
So we can go to the mortgage real quick. I know we're running short on time, but if you, the homeowner out there, if you go to your bank account's website, pull up your amortization statement. Here's what the banks know
but they don't tell you.
that you don't know. that the average person moves within 7 to 9 years of their being in their home. They move somewhere else, right? So if you pull out your amortization statement and you look at the first 7 to 9 years of that amortization statement, all interest, because they know your habits. And so they want to make sure they get their money first.
Right.
So they get their money up front. You move and you go and you restart the clock at
somewhere else. Right.
So there are
Often
systems
with them again.
Exactly.
Yep. Yeah.
Because they gave you a great way. Oh, you're a repeat customer. Yeah. So these are all setups in the same way with the student loans to benefit you. Like you said, that's affordable. The same way with cars. Oh, I can afford this payment. No, you can't. You can't afford to keep losing money every single month. You're making their bottom line grow and yours shrink.
Wow.
Y'all got in trouble.
Child.
We love you.
I want to give one more tool, because one question is, where was it? Advice for getting out of debt. I have no money to save. What can I do? Was one of the questions, and I really will end here. One of the things that you said earlier that I thought was good, and I wanted to say it then, but I'm going to say it now. Bringing in a stream of income for a certain goal. I thought that was so good. I think a lot of times in our minds, we become so confined to just, I work my 9 to 5 and this is my fixed income. And what you're saying is there are ways to be creative to bring in more, so you aren't just stuck to or confined to that fixed income.
You know, I want to say something real quick before you answer, because somebody weren't talking to me, but they gave me such a great idea that this could work. People are always like, I don't have no time. I don't have no extra money. I have a broken car. I can't do anything. We met this person who was giving us an Uber ride somewhere. She said she works at the mall till 9 o'clock. And to make extra money, she Postmates just for 1 hour after work. Because she was like, after work, I never go home and go straight to sleep. I just, be on my phone, watch TV. She said for 1 hour, I Postmate after work, or Uber, whatever it is, because in your city. And whatever I make from that day, some days it's $300, some days it's $47. I save that money. I do it for 1 hour and nothing more. And I was like, that is such an easy way to make a little bit of cash for such a time as this. And then she was like, on the weekends, if I'm bored, like a lot of times we don't be doing nothing.
Right.
Like we really don't be doing
scrolling Instagram.
I mean, just literally absolutely nothing. And you could be doing something valuable, but we tell ourselves we don't have no time. You have 1 hour.
You got time.
Just 1 hour after work. I just not gonna go straight home. I'm gonna start the app from my job, drive around for 1 hour, and when 1 hour's over, I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna send that money. Because that Postmates money, they be coming like almost instantaneously. So I just thought that was a good idea, because y'all talked about adding extra hustles to save money and throw it to that, because almost anybody can do that. Because for Postmates, you don't have to have a great car. You just have to be able to get from one place to another. On Uber, you have to have a certain.
I have a sister that loves to make stuff with her hands, like scrapbooking. And she was a manager at a well-known department store, and she came home to be with her children, and she signed up an account on Etsy. She makes over $50,000 a year making birthday cards and banners and birthday decor.
Dang.
Right? So that's
somebody's whole salary.
Hello? Absolutely. So what's in your hand? There's something that you can do. There's a talent, there's a gift that God has given all of us, right? You have the gift of laughing, right? That all of us.
It's a healing ministry.
It is.
You tell me that in the car.
And so look at what you can do and monetize it. We didn't know that our story, a story that brought so much pain in our lives, right, that almost ended our marriage before it even began, that God was going to then turn around and use that to help other couples and now make a full-time living off of it, right? So there's something that you can do. You're a great communicator. Like the way you break down women.
Listen, she's deeper than she realized.
Oh my gosh, So there's something that God has given you that you can do.
Who been telling you that?
She was talking to the folks.
No, she's talking to you, Jack.
And it goes back to doing whatever it takes, right? There's people, there's a website called VIP Kid where people here in America are teaching kids in China how to speak English. But you got to be on their time zone. So that means you got to, for 2 hours, you got to do like from 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, depending on what time zone you're in. But you're just giving it a couple hours. So we knew, we read a story about a mom who did that before her kids got up. She was a stay-at-home mom, but because she did those 2 hours a day, she was making like $1,700 a month.
Wow.
So there are ways to do it. Again, we got to get rid of those narratives like, I don't have enough money, I don't have enough time, I can't do. You're already defeated. We can't help you.
Absolutely. There's a website called OnlyFans where you could like set up a streaming and then you do like sexual stuff and people pay you money. Use your body.
And on that note,
we can't have all this great advice without something dumb. Show your butt. butt. $2 a cheek. That's $4 a session.
oh my goodness.
Don't sell your body.
We tried, guys. We tried.
Profit.
2
hours a day of butt show. You got $600 a sesh.
That's hilarious.
Put that on your snowball, hey man.
Snowball.
Can you tell the people if they're intrigued? I hope that you guys are more than intrigued. I hope you're encouraged and motivated.
You can do
it. I hope that you are motivated to
it.
know that you can do this.
Right.
It is something that is obtainable. It is something that is within reach. It is achievable. It is something that you can do. You do not have to be burdened by debt. There are action plans that you can take to get to create a legacy for your family.
Legacy.
So if you're intrigued and you want to take those steps, can you tell the people where they can follow you online and all of that?
Yeah, so you can find us at hisandhermoney.com. We also have a podcast called The His and Her Money Show. We're on all of the outlets. And we're also on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Everything's at His and Her Money.
Yep, and we are the creators of Power Couples University. So if you and your spouse are having trouble getting on the same page financially, come on to powercouplesuniversity.com and we'll get you straight.
Resources, y'all.
Resources.
That's right. It's out there.
Yeah. So great. Thank you guys so much for joining us today for this bonus episode, so to speak, with His or Her Money. I'm your host, MrsKevOnStage. He is Kev on Stage, and we will see you on the next episode. Bye.
Bye.
Peace.
I gotta go to the action.
Me